like all things, I mean, I'm stoked for an opportunity to come on a podcast called PROG is Bullshit because I do have some thoughts on it. I'll share what I think it is. Mate. Yep. I think prog to me means progressive. That's a good start because there will be those that contest that, and that's okay. It has to be sexy. It has to be fuckable. The
like
band,
yeah. We're talking about prog before any of this bullshit.
Sorry to spoil the podcast, but ultimately it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because to them it means some particular granular aspect of some psychedelic electronic music that someone told them was prog, and they grabbed that and then like turned it into self, and now will defend it to the end of their life.
Prog's bullshit.
A bystander might look or listen at it and be like, oh yeah, it's the same kind of music. I'd be like, this is not the same kind of music. This is a fucking waste of everyone's time. This is so prog right now. Bring back the prog. And you're like, but didn't you say it's prog? And I'm like, no. Prog. Josh, you ate way too much of whatever was on that bit of paper earlier, brother.
Prog was just everywhere. It was all, and of course, like great artists have come up.
It was on the discount shelf in Woolworths.
I don't understand what it is.
It is a waste of time.
Prog's bullshit.
Well, cheers to prog, guys.
Cheers. Thank you. Fucking A. Cheers to prog.
Prog is bullshit.
Hello, everybody from Canberra. This is PROG is Bullshit Podcast Epizode 10, and I'm your host, Solid Professor. I have two exciting guests with me, guys. Maybe you can quickly introduce yourselves for the audience who may not know you.
This is Josh Cohen. He's plays under the name Konedawg. He's a terrific mixer of beats.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your turn, Josh.
Name.
Huh? Name.
Konedawg, he said.
Joe. This is Joe Hefferman, and he got married in Japan.
Cool.
To Japanese
That's
lady.
That's about all we know about each other.
By the way, you don't need to look at that camera, guys. You can be looking anywhere because I got multiple cameras on you.
That's a camera.
That's a camera. There's this one.
But that's where my teleprompter is. Where else am I supposed to look? Yeah.
So
this is Joe Heffernan.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic VJ.
Thank you.
A wicked, underrated DJ, and a really great friend.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Thanks for coming today.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure having you too. I think with you two, we're gonna talk about some exciting things and exciting topics. I'm really keen to explore them with you. Just a quick reminder that this podcast is available in video format on YouTube and also in audio format on Spotify. So you can have an option of either listening or watching it. Usually the Spotify version comes out earlier than the YouTube version.
Because it's got higher subscription fees, is that right? Like
there's no subscription.
Fees. You're not charging people for this.
No. Right. This is.
Some needs to be made here, mate.
This is a not-for-profit project.
If I'd have known that before I got involved.
Yeah, I should have clarified that. Thanks, guys, for coming. So the first part of the podcast, I would like to talk about your recent activities in the music community and what you have been up to as far as DJing, VJing, whatever. And then we can talk about other things, anything about music or the scene or really anything, and I will talk about prog towards the end.
Awesome.
Cool.
So what have you guys been up to? Josh, maybe we'll start with you. What's been happening in your life musically?
Yeah. Well, we're reminiscing a little on Basecamp earlier this afternoon, a party on a property out near Windellama, and that was a real treat. I was absolutely stoked to get to catch up with you there, Joe, and to catch up with many of my other nearest and dearest.
What's the event?
Basecamp is run by Darcy.
Basecamp.
Yeah, Basecamp. Darcy and Mackenzie and Atlanta and can you remember the names? It's funny, I'm having a bit of a mental blank in this moment.
And Jack was also.
Yeah. Jack and Rhiannon had their awesome new pizza business running there. And it's funny, there's been a couple of opportunities.
Pulled you quite a bit there, so I might just welcome to Canberra.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'll give you some, guys. I'll give you some tonic. That would be just rough drinking gin.
No,
but try. I suggest try it straight, just to because it's got quite a pomegranate.
It's very pink. I would say
you
can taste the pink.
It's called pink gin. Pink gin by Poncho Fox. Thank you, Poncho Fox. It is. Made in Melbourne, just like 10-minute drive from here.
Yeah.
They're
supposed to be halfway in between Sydney and Melbourne. When you do that drive, it's like this is not halfway through.
Yeah.
Halfway.
Yeah.
And is this the aforementioned Poncho Fox on the front of the bottle? Or is that the brand and then the
brand,
the ambassador or the I guess what would you say?
That's the creator.
The creator. That's wow.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Thanks,
what an
man.
extraordinary, amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you, Poncho Fox, for. What now with?
Awesome.
So,
tonic.
Yep. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, have some tonic.
Unreal. Base camp kicked ass. I had such a fantastic time, and something that's come up again and again is that.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
And thank you to Poncho Fox once again.
Yep.
Thanks, Poncho.
Absolutely. If I drank, it would be this. I'll drink to that.
I haven't tried like many gins, but this is like probably one of the best that I've tried, just because of this sort of flavor, a little bit of pomegranate. Pomegranate is actually my favorite fruit. So
it is the most annoying fruit
yes,
of any.
It is.
It sucks
I'm
to
wary
get
of
into.
any fruit with more than like 3 syllables. I think it's asking a bit much.
You don't do bananas.
Well, in Russian,
Banana 3 is okay.
In Russia, it's called granat.
Yeah, okay.
Straight to the point.
There's a reason that they're held in such high regard worldwide at the moment, and I think straight to the point.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah.
I think something that I deeply appreciate of my experience at base camp was it was a weekend not without duress. Lots of wet weather around all of New South Wales and Victoria at that time. And while the site was lucky to be spared the most of it, it was a wet party and a muddy party. And I recognised that I'd grown fat on the opportunities of fair weather doofing, and it had made me less resilient in some ways. Like, I'm so used to party after party of great weather and not having to struggle too much to get in and out of the site, and not having to put up structures and not having to worry about wearing boots and having rain gear and that. And I think something that I deeply appreciated was the community worked hard for that party. The promoters were there weeks in advance, busting their asses to put on one of the coolest productions that I have seen in years.
The stage looked amazing.
Was
My
fucking
God.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely awesome.
I'm just out of storage space on this phone, so I had to delete some videos. That's why. I am paying attention. I'm listening.
No, please. Yeah. I actually would be doing the same if it weren't for the fact that I'm out of battery on my phone. It was cool, and I think that I was stoked at first. I wasn't as sure about the sound because I was like kind of up near the mixing booth, and then I discovered that the sweet spot on that stage was quite close to the DJ booth, and it was exquisite. It was everything I needed out of a sweet spot, like the immersion of being right in that spot where you could feel the music as well as you could hear it, and and just the caliber and consistency of every single DJ across that weekend. I didn't hear the same song more than once over 72 hours of pretty much back-to-back music, all within the realm of bass
Did
music.
you hear it at other festivals?
I mean, a ton of it, I think, was just the cream of the crop of lots of drum and bass. And
No, you said you never heard the same song repeating in the festival, or you haven't heard at all the songs that were playing at the festival before.
Yeah, I mean, from time to time, even like, I don't know, it depends. Like, it's probably not that uncommon for weekends to go without the same song repeating more than once. But I think something that I found quite awesome was I felt like it covered so much ground, like within that space of drum and bass and down-tempo music, that there's just so much space. And so there were no two sets that to me, in my humble opinion, felt or sounded the same. There was a ton of original productions. Ryan Wegg jumped up and played some stuff that I've never heard from him before, which was awesome. And it was just, a bit of a who's who of awesome DJs and promoters in that space. I mean, like Jess and Aaron from, they're a bit involved with Higher Ground, and they do, like, Bass Ship is Jess's baby, and they were there with their crew, and so they just have, like, all these pockets of crews that are so psyched on that style of music all come together. And I think it was testament to the promoters for their exceptional taste and bringing together a community not only that had awesome taste, but that are just like excellent human beings. Like there's so many fucking legends.
I bloody hear it after every event. Everyone just says, "Oh, this is great. There's so many good people there." It's like, it's like a bit repetitive.
It's become the new normal in a way as well. I guess that we're becoming less tolerant of those that don't that are there for the music, but also there because they come from a place of integrity, and that they're authentic human beings who are there for their love of their community, basically. And this one was no exception. And it's not at the exception of other parties, because I mean, I'm lucky that I think all the parties I get along to and am involved with, I'm stoked to say, are full of legends. But this one being the most recent big party that I was involved with, I'm glad to see that legacy continue. And I don't know that crew especially well, but in all the time that we've been hanging out, I'm just so stoked at how much time and energy that they have for me, and it's fun to feel that reciprocated and just be like, okay, cool, yeah, you guys are on the level, let's have a fucking great time. And I did. So, yeah.
PROG is bullshit.
So you just talked about the party, so we're gonna come back to what you are doing actually in your music life apart from Basecamp. Joe, what have you been up to?
Not much. That's sort of the last 6 months or so. I've just been getting back into things. I sort of had been out of the game for quite a while, since 2016. The wife and I had kids, and the end of 2019, I was like, right, let's get back into this. And then, something happened. And,
we can't recall what it is now.
Yeah, something sort of just went awry. And, just trying to reconnect with everyone. For as different as the landscape is since sort of leaving for that sort of 4 or 5 years, there's lots of it still intact. Lots of people, lots of people have come in, new people have come in, old people have sort of left. It's the exact same feeling and sense of community. And I think, when you talk about community, I think there's a big difference maybe between South Australia, Southern Australia, Melbourne and New South Wales and that sort of thing, in Canberra. And then I think the further up you go, I've been told it's a little bit different. They're a different breed as far as party goers, but they all feel like the same community. A lot of the time, it's you could go and swap out any of these people and put the same type of person in there, and it would be just as good. The feeling's still there, and I think people are far hungrier for it now. Yeah, so it's great to sort of come back, and it seems to be the best time. I mean, you, for example. I remember getting a message from a mate like a year or so ago, and they're like, "Who's this Russian dude that's talking to all our like old friends from the scene?" And I was like, "What?" And then like talking to Josh, and he's like, "Have you met Misha?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Who's this Russian dude that's like interviewing?" And I'm like, "That's who it is." And like my wife, the same, is like, "Who's this dude talking to our mate from a while ago?" So it's been great to and see like the new crews that are coming, and like particularly here in Canberra. It'll be. I'm really keen to contribute to getting the scene and just like electronic music sort of in general. You know? Back in the day, I was floor to the floor, and that's it. And now it's kind of like, oh, okay, like let's just try and get everything we can and like build it up, because
And so you do lighting?
So I do visuals. I think I started VJing in 2009 with this guy and a friend of ours, Ollie. And so that's like, you and I were playing gigs back then. And then I think I started like VJing properly. The second doof I went to, I was VJing it. And then from there it was just like, yeah.
And so that's what you have.
That's what I've been.
Been
making visuals and VJing at festivals, gigs, and and then DJing sort of on the side and trying to make those two work together, and
What sort of music do you play when you DJ?
Dark side usually, or any sort of psytrance, but the darker stuff's what gets me going. Yeah. And the longer I've sort of been in it, the more I've started exploring other things. But it takes fucking ages to do that. Like if
it does, it's
like if you're into one thing and you really want to find the shit, like that takes years.
Yes.
And then so if someone's like, "Well, have you heard drum and bass?" and you hear one song and you're like, "Oh, no, like I can't get too invested in that because if you like mixing, it's going to be like, all right, well, I'm not going to focus on anything else and just try to get these two fucking beats to work." So, but electronic music sort of trying to broaden things, but as far as like psytrance goes, like I guess I'm pretty what's the word? Not faggot, but kind of picky.
A sucker for the accent.
Yeah, but good stuff.
You're
and
discerning.
very quick to sort of go like, no, that's not what I'm talking about.
You're discerning that you've been listening for long enough and refined taste enough that you can very quickly determine, okay, this is interesting.
Which is great. And then when you show someone else and they go, "This is fucking garbage," that's nice to hear as well, because you're like, all right, maybe I need fresh ears coming to this. But
it turns out that the toaster oven you were listening to it on wasn't the best possible sound system to capture the.
I just put my phone in like a steel cup. Listen to it like that. But
cool, Josh. So what
are you actually doing?
Yeah, in terms of music. Yeah, you went to this Basecamp party. Yeah. Besides that, anything else been going on?
I debuted a new original at Basecamp, which was cool. And that track was a old kind of demo from 2019. That I listened back to, and I thought, well, it has some interesting kind of ethereal elements, like some of the pads and things are intriguing, and I like the like kind of what the story has to say in terms of the melody, but the kick and bass production no longer represented me, and so tore out those elements and kind of rebuilt the track. I recently picked up Atlas, which is a plugin for managing samples, and kind of rebuilt my sound library. Collected a bunch of different samples from different sources over the years that I'd bought, or for a while, a couple of years ago, I took the time and energy to do my own sampling. I picked tracks that I liked from all sorts of different styles of music, a lot of like prog metal and gent and stuff, tiny little slivers. But then I realised that like this big library of samples I had was quite ungainly. It wasn't sorted, and there was a ton of shit in there that I was like, I in good conscience don't think I would ever use these sounds. And so I was pretty ruthless. I went through a little while ago and just did that. And just like kind of just cycling through and just going, no, fuck that, don't need it. Refined my library, and then Atlas has this great feature where it analyzes the music, and it can basically be able to fairly well enough, be able to sort everything into like, okay, kicks are here, rides are here, this, that. And Atlas, I guess that is evident by the namesake, is a plugin that you see a visual representation of all your different sounds on a map, and you can zoom in and out of that map, and then you've got, it's not unlike the Native Instruments machine, for example. I use like a Akai APC 40, or maybe even just the drum pads on my old SL25, my remote MIDI controller, to assign different samples. Then you can just hit the refresh button and cycle through the library of preferred samples in any given map. So I've got like my tech house map, or I'm slowly building a down tempo map and a psytrance map, and use that to rebuild basically the drums from this song. And then the bass was super uninspired from this old track, and so I am really digging this sound that a couple of different artists are doing really well. I think Bass to Pain Converter, I don't know that producer's name at the moment, he has this really exquisite representation of this feel of this rolling bass line that has psychedelic sensibilities, like the bass line, is it the 303 that like but with a rumble underneath it, like from techno. So it's just this like really powerful kind of breathing, relentless bass line that I was like, I'd like to have a play at that. And rather than looking up tutorials on it, I was like, I'm just going to muck around in the studio. I've got a pair of opals in a little studio under the house at the moment with some treatment. I trust the sound well enough to be able to experiment a little with this. And yeah, revitalize this song.
Joe, can you pass me the tonic things?
Yeah, good call.
So the song, the remix, what genre is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I think the further I get into my DJing and production journey, the harder it is to nail a genre.
Oh, if it's hard, I'll say it's prog, right? If it's hard, just say it's prog.
Yeah,
I have some thoughts on what constitutes prog, but it's true. Yeah, I think these days it's probably easier to like even just get into the nitty gritty of what it's reminiscent of, and so it's definitely inspired by.
Cheers to prog, guys.
Cheers, thank you. Fucking A, cheers to prog.
Prog is bullshit.
And so that one track, but apart from that, you've been doing quite a bit of production.
Not as much as I'd hoped to this last little window of time. I had good intentions, but it's amazing how quickly I got to a place where I was pretty comfortable with the amount of production that I was doing, and then I had an opportunity for a full-time job. A contract gig came up for me, and I couldn't say no because I was essentially destitute. I'd run out of money, had no crypto left to squander, and wanted to have some disposable income so that I could sit a bit more comfortably with the summer festival season. Because in terms of my journey as a DJ and producer, I don't yet have enough momentum and enough street cred to be able to sustain myself off music. And I'm at that point where, for better or for worse, if an opportunity comes up to take a gig, if the promoter can cover my fuel money, then I'm stoked for that. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, and I understand that everyone has their own personal philosophies around demanding a certain amount of pay for parties, but I'm in this place where I hope that the journey of continuing to participate in the community gets me to a point where I get more and more remuneration. But until then, I'm comfortable with knowing that on some level I need to sustain myself. And if to get a chance to play the chill space at Elements, or to play the Drift Lab at Rabbits means that I just volunteer my time and energy, I'll do it, because then I get to play at Rabbits Eat Lettuce. I'm not so attached to this notion at this stage I need to get paid, and because of that, the opportunity cost is that I need to find other work.
Yeah, you need to get your name out there. right? This
Well,
is what
yeah,
you're talking about,
yeah.
basically, right?
And just experimenting a little bit with finding that balance. Like, because, I was working well for a while because I had a little bit of savings and there were enough gigs coming and going that I made a little bit of money go a long way. But I was reaching the end of that and I would run out of assets that I wanted to sell. And so I took a full-time job. And it's great. I get to work from home. It's an awesome contract with a team that I love at an organisation that I've worked for years previously. But it has been a challenge integrating a 8 till 4:30 job, still finding time to go to the gym, which is very important to me because I've had a few pretty serious physiological challenges over the last few years, like sciatic nerve pain and meniscus tear in my knee and some shoulder problems that I know that I can't function unless I'm keeping active. And then, life admin and being social means that since starting the full-time work in October, the amount of time I have to dedicate to production and DJing has been diminished. Because prior to that, I treated it like my full-time job. I was practicing or producing 8 till 4 on at least 4 or 5 days a week. And so, I'd like to answer the question around how much have I been producing this last little window of time.
This last
as much
year.
as I can. Yeah.
One song. You got one.
Yeah, I got one, guys.
You got one.
And you know what?
Congratulations.
It kicks the shit out of every year that I got none done, that's for sure.
That's right.
Yeah. No, I've got a couple. There's a couple I'm sitting on at the moment because they need to be mixed. And then there's a body of work of a bunch of unfinished tracks over the years of varying styles and feelings that some of which I like some ideas in and some of which, again, everyone has their own philosophy on this, but there's some half-cooked songs that maybe don't necessarily represent me anymore, but that I would like to finish just for the personal goal of the finishing music journey, which I've been on. So the last 12 to 18 months, I've been finishing more and more music, and some of it is just for me that I say, okay, that's done, and I'm going to sit that over there. And then every now and then I just throw stuff up in my originals playlist on SoundCloud. Don't do a lot of promotion or anything because it's not there yet. Like it's not I value it so much because it's an integral part of my journey as a producer, but it's not the stuff that I have enough kind of humility and I know enough of where I'd like to go that I know better than to be that guy that's like, guys, check this out, and then in 3 weeks listen and be like, it's interesting maybe, but it's like it's not a fucking rockin' track. Like, I'm so intrigued. I know I'm on a bit of a tangent now, but there's a few producers out there at the moment that inspire me so much in terms of how great their mixes sound.
Who are they?
Aaron King. The King brothers. That man is an absolutely exquisite engineer.
He's a weapon, mate.
Awesome. I love his music. I love his attitude. He's so such a legend. Absolutely love his productions. And then, of course, guys that are absolutely killing it that have been doing it for years, like guys like Ryan Ware released another album the other day. I love it. Anyone who's making psychedelic music that remembers to actually do the key thing about psychedelic music, and that is occasionally subvert expectations, gets a big fucking tick in my book because...
that dude...
Have you listened to the latest album? I haven't checked it out yet.
It's great. But, I remember the first time seeing Ryan and at this tiny, shitty little party and going like, that's my dude. And then just forever I've just sort of just hung on to him and have told people about him, and then, went on to Xenon, and then next minute he's fucking all around the world, and just keeps getting better. And always like psychedelic. Like we were talking here before, he's one of those guys that will have a song that can literally, like, the people in the dance floor, like half the dance floor will just stop and go like, what's going on? Like, what is actually happening here? And then he'll sort of bring it back in to something completely out of field, and it's like, oh, okay, that's why this is so good.
Guys, do you hear this weird clicking sound? What's going on? I'm gonna just close that window. But I don't know what the hell this sound. But keep talking.
My herniated disc just about to rupture. So
Brutal.
at some point in this, you see me go like,
suck
and
it
just
in.
slip. Yeah, that's right. Between you and me. Oh, he's back.
No, this is not between you. This is everyone.
Could it be these effervescent bubbles in my drink?
I don't know what it is. This is... This is really weird.
Wow. RX Isotope. I am sponsored by those guys, and they'll have some sort of white noise remover that will clean it up perfectly. And that way, when we release this, without the sound, everyone's going to be wondering what the hell we're talking about. It's strange.
So,
do we want to take a minute to figure out what's going on?
No, I think we can just continue.
Carry on,
and see what happens. I just can't think of what it could be, really.
Yeah, it sounds electronic.
So, Joe, what about you in terms of gigs recently? What's happening?
I've done. I'm trying to think what I've got on the horizon. I guess there's probably a couple of bigger things that I haven't got in the bag yet, so I don't know whether I should say them, but it's just trying to sneak back in, sort of thing. Any of those visual crews that are out there, I'd love to fucking catch up and say hello, because all the other VJs I sort of grew up with, I sort of aren't around anymore. A few DJs as well. Some have moved into other areas. Some, unfortunately, aren't physically here anymore. But just
they moved to Melbourne.
Yeah, they moved interstate. Just trying to just get back in, and just sort of, I've just got a whole bunch of more equipment which is just holding me back for a long time, just keeping me away from family and that sort of thing. So upgrading that, and just trying to get more stuff out there, and just trying to get involved with more crews, and just trying to help out sort of the scene here in Canberra. So
what's the scene in Canberra like? This in terms of outdoor parties, there's nothing planned for December, right? No parties in December. I haven't heard anything about January.
But the man is out of the game at the moment, JJ. So he's Canberra. For me, he was the guy that did it all, and I think I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's slowed down and is much more focused now. But he'd have stuff on all the time, and really was the life of Canberra. But yeah, I don't really know. I mean, when I sort of, like, before 2020, like, it just seemed like everything was just getting shut down. Like like my wife and I would try and get, either booked somewhere, or we'd organise someone to, like, look after the kids and stuff. And then I think it was like 2 or 3 times it happened, that all these organisers have to jump through bloody hoops, and then right at the last minute someone will step in and sort of go like, no, you can't do this anymore. So I remember being very worried about the scene for a long time. And then sort of after 2020, I don't know, things are sort of popping up, bubbling all around the place. And
ironic that it took like
too many things are
sometimes there really does. Absolutely.
I see, especially in Sydney, for example, parties are like there's several parties happening every weekend,
which is great. Like I certainly don't really remember it being like that, but I think at the same time there's sort of like cross-pollination as well of like like all the bass heads and the like trance people, like they're kind of intermingling, it seems, wouldn't you say? And that's sort of but I think that's the only way it's going to work.
It seems to me that just too many parties, and then promoters seem to be struggling a bit in terms of getting people in. Maybe it's not just that there are many parties, maybe it's just the economic situation. People are a bit more conscious about how many parties they go to, or whether they go to a party or spend their time watching Netflix or whatever.
We touched on that a little bit earlier. It's interesting that, the cumulative sum of all these factors. You've got venues like the Bridge Hotel in Rozelle that has like all-night parties going on every weekend, and the promoters are diverse enough that there's little subsections of community that are champions of the cause for each of those parties. But then there's a huge chunk of the clientele of multiple parties. Like, I'd love to go to Church of Techno, I'd love to go to Sutra, I'd love to get along to the Zenith parties, but where I am at the moment, that I'm not living in Sydney, there's an opportunity cost. And if I do an all-nighter at one, it's like, oh, I can't back it up weekend to weekend. Yeah. And there's this funny balance where, like, a portion of our community, it doesn't have the money to be able to go to these parties all the time. And then another chunk, especially mates of mine that are now mid-30s or older, that may have the finances, but then are also juggling family life, or that are juggling, mortgages, or like, there's all these little factors that make it tricky. And something that I speculate on, I don't know if it's substantiated, but like the 2-year break where everything went a little bit underground, I think might have affected the degree to which the relationship of bringing in younger energy might have been a bit of a like kind of paradigm shift. Like, up until the point of something like a global pandemic, you've just got this kind of cycle of people in a scene throwing parties consistently, so the parties are on the map, they've built all this momentum, and also there's people coming for the first time that invite their younger friends, and so there's this like continuous kind of stream, whereas something as disruptive as a pandemic, we're in this interesting twilight, I think, at the moment, where people are fucking keen because they're working hard for it, but like there's this a little bit of the momentum's lost, and also a little bit of the connective tissue of the larger community around like who to know to invite into, like, hey, young guys that are looking for something that isn't as readily accessible, stuff that's invite only on Facebook. It's like, how to get it all connected and flowing again is challenging.
So I think some of the events or the scene has missed the inflow of that younger generation who was just being introduced. It was not available during COVID, and so there's like a year or two of gap where those younger generation missed out on experiencing the doof scene, for example.
And some people in that gap took a far enough break from it being an integral part of their own like kind of journey that like there's a bunch of people that you and I were doofing with a couple of years ago that then have shifted into other stuff, that they're now travelling overseas at the end of the pandemic, or that they have other hobbies, or decide that they'll only go to one every X number of months or something, and which is absolutely fine, but I wonder whether it would have gone that way if not for that like kind of gap in momentum. But it's tough because promoters are, like, some of these events are so fucking cool, and you want them to kick ass and you want them to succeed, but it's hard. Like, I lost a gig on Saturday because low ticket sales. I was so psyched for it and ready to rock and roll, and unfortunately, the combination of both the promoter needing a break, and quite rightly so, because of all the hard work and energy that they've been putting into events right up until this moment, and also just that it's so imperative for promoters to be able to get tickets ahead of the event, because they're investing all this time and energy and money, and to be the Friday before an event on a Saturday and be like, oh, we sold 14 tickets. It's like, even if 100 people rocked up on the day, like, imagine how stressful it is for you, like, up until that moment where you're just like, am I out of pocket $2,000 or more, potentially? Like,
PROG is bullshit.
Could it be my genital piercings?
I think so. That's what it is.
Having some sort of electrical interference.
That must be it.
No, they're titanium. They wouldn't have any impact on the sound.
Good on you, mate. So, what's next? What's next for you guys? What are the plans for the next couple of months? Summer's coming up. Well, me and Joe, we're talking earlier about cancellation of gigs and all that.
We just lost one too.
Yeah, we lost one too.
Hey, bro, Hooray for being a fucking DJ.
I don't know the reasons, but the thing is,
we lost
it. But it's maybe coming up again in January, perhaps. But what about other things for you guys in terms of gigging? Parties for the next couple of months?
I mean, I've put a bunch of applications in
Where?
For
Which
bigger
one?
festival ones, like for like Esoteric and that. So who knows? Hopefully get on board with that.
Applications for DJing or for
VJ,
DJing? Yeah.
VJ, I can mix tracks. That's about as far as I'll say. I just don't really think I'm much of a DJ yet.
Don't sell yourself
yeah,
short.
That's what I do. I just mix tracks.
Track
this-
mixer.
Yeah.
Get this one into this one.
Yeah.
Unless I'm missing something, isn't that kind of the...
DJs, I think, have
Yeah,
like a
well,
hat
that's
that
the
they-
base.
They have like a special hat that they wear.
Yep.
I'd call myself, just mixing tunes.
Yeah. Particularly if you're
I'm
like someone
happy
like
to say
Loose,
that,
and you're sort of like, what's that? So it's just DJing. It's like,
Next level.
well, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. The
King.
magic is there's so much space to put as much or as little personality into the process as possible. But one thing that I will say with confidence is you both do the most important aspect of it, which is you keep it rolling and you hold it down. And that I think is absolutely integral, because I've seen even some some DJs given some good opportunities at some good parties where you'd be like, whoa, I can see the cracks starting to appear a little bit here.
But doesn't that happen to everyone?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It could be just a bad day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But then that makes an impression for a long
Or sometimes
term.
You're on my list. Yep.
That jump from like you could be in your room for the whole week, 4 hours every night, getting that 10 songs together and go like, that is solid. Like I've got that sorted. And then the second you get on, plug your USB in and hear I just lose everything. You go like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do this. And then just, it seems like the last 3 songs I'll sort of be like, all right, I'm comfortable now. And then the next DJ will come.
Yeah. But do you think sometimes it's also the setup of the event, like if the monitors are there to the first place? Sometimes you come and you play, there's no monitors, right? And there's things like that. Or sometimes the monitors are so loud that you can not even hear inside your headphones.
But I like can kind
Sorry,
of.
guys.
I don't know. I am usually quick to blame myself. Like I'll just sort of go like, no, that was like just completely my fault. Even if one of the decks isn't working, like I could have done better. I don't know.
I think one of the, in my opinion, one of the most useful things a skill a DJ can develop is like that practice of not attaching too much to one's own perceived experience, because there's something about
100%.
There's times that I've gotten in my own way and then others have said something to the effect of like, hey, that was great, and I just feel like oh no, I fucked up on this, that or the other, and then the promoter in earnest will be like, nope, like I'll get you back, that was awesome. And I realise too that at least I'm not the only one, because I've gone up to sets that I've thought have been phenomenal and said like, hey, that was fantastic, thanks for holding it down, and then the same thing where they're like, oh yeah, thanks, but I really screwed up this, and it's like, look, I love music, I love DJing, and there might have been some aspect of it that didn't quite go the way you wanted, or maybe for that moment, for a couple of bars, those were not correctly beat matched, but like, an enthusiastic member of your crowd either didn't notice or got over it in 2 seconds. That lesson of just like you said, I guess everyone fucks up.
Sometimes when you dancing or whatever, you might be spaced out, not noticing those mistakes that the DJ thinks.
Well, with the amount of acid that we all eat, I'd be surprised if any of us notice any of each other's mistakes.
I don't need any acids. What is it? Acids?
It's like a colloquial term for making sure that you drink enough water. Yeah.
Staying hydrated.
Yes.
I drink beer. I don't drink water. Don't any acids.
It looks cool.
This is
essential amino acids. I mean, there's a reason you keep these guns going as well as you do.
That's why, it gives me all the acids that I need.
Awesome. You wear them well.
Oh, guys, Church of Techno. Talking about that. What a mad podcast. I've never that's my first experience at the Church of Techno that weekend with you.
Yeah, that was fun.
So Cam and all those boys.
Cam DJs because he and Sheps are mates.
Cam is a resident DJ
yeah.
of Church of Techno, and Sigmund, but Sheps is the one who runs it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And again, like for my 2 cents, relatively new to that fam, but yeah, it's so special that this like experience of having a bit of a felt sense of like, I think I like these DJs or these producers, and then going to their events, getting to meet them, and then like there's just something so humbling about how much time and space they have for me or for us, and to feel that kind of mutual appreciation and support and respect, and just that like fucking that authentic kind of in it for the music and in it for the community kind of energy that can't be faked, I would say. And so yeah, I think it's no surprise we hit it off with those guys so quickly, because even though I have a felt sense of like looking up to them in terms of their prowess when it comes to promoting gigs, when it comes to like how prolific they are with their DJing and everything, that key ingredient of being equally as enthusiastic about this scene for all the same reasons means we get on great. And yeah, the party's awesome, and super stoked to get to hang out with those guys, and looking forward to one day playing it too. It'd be awesome. Yeah.
Church of
it's
Techno.
cool. I'd love to get to the boat party. I think it's next weekend.
Yeah, next weekend, next Saturday. I'm doing media there.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it's gonna be. I don't think they've had Church of Techno boat parties before.
Wow.
If I'm not I might be mistaken. I'm not that familiar, but
I think the Catholic Church takes. They've got like, you know, some fucking shtick in that game, and so there might be, when we get to the dock, there might actually be, you know, another diocese there with their swinging the.
There'll be 2 boats.
Yeah,
two church boats. Just get on the right one.
So Josh, you play. You've got quite a interesting library that you play from. There's obviously some prog in that. It's mostly like kind of minimal, low groove, funky kind of stuff. How do you find all that? Like what? Why do you like that? And it's really cool, and it's kind of versatile. The music that you play, I think, can accommodate for different settings and different times of the day. And yeah, how did you get into it, or like what makes that genre special?
Yeah, I wonder whether I think different friends that listen to me playing at different times of day or party might get very different impressions of what sort of music I'm into. Like, and I think that's part of why Cam and I connected, was that there was this acceptance of like. Yeah, I can't really pick a lane, and even though there might be some benefits to doing so, like taking the time and energy to split up different projects in different styles to make it easier for promoters to book me, I'm kind of going down the path of, well, I like all this style of music, and some of it's electronic, some of it is, contemporary instrumental music, and it's a bunch of different styles and genres and BPMs. But the key ingredient is that it's music I love, and I think you were exploring our connection through some of what you've heard me play, and a lot of that I would categorize as like minimal tech house. There's a label by this artist I love called the Lexic Rod called Low Groove, and I really love his music and music that reminds me of stuff off that label, because it has high dynamic range, so it's not squeezed too hard. It translates really well on small and big sound systems. It's groovy as fuck. I like, I don't know, like a bit of a personal philosophy for a lot of that style of music is music to fuck to. Like, it has to be sexy, it has to be fuckable. And I have to be able to throw my ass into it. I have to be able to like get that visceral kind of bass face, but without, I have my own ideas of what I consider to be tacky, or my own ideas of what I consider to be cheap sounding, and it's subjective, but I do my best to own that, because the audiences that I feel connect with some of what I share in that tight, minimal tech house space, I think have a mutual appreciation for how excited that music gets them. And I feel it in the spaces that I play to, which is cool. But how do I find it?
No. Yeah, that's a totally.
We can get into that. How long have you got? I have a process.
Into that.
Low Groove. It's a record label, you said, right?
Yeah.
But
this absolutely
it
awesome
seems to me
South
that
American
you've made it
music.
into a whole genre, right? There
Like
is a low
that
groove
word, low
genre,
groove.
right, of music.
Yeah, I mean, I use. It's getting increasingly hard to characterize any body of music by attributing a name of a genre to it, because something like tech house means so many different things to different people. There was this interesting gentleman at when Rabbits was postponed in 2021. We went to a party called Let Us Dance Anyway, and I'd been booked to play, and I went to get on at a particular time, and he asked what I was going to play, and I said that I was going to play some tech house, and that it was going to be about 122 to 125 BPM. And that promoter was like, "Oh, that's not tech house." And I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting." He's like, "Yeah, tech house is 128 to 131.
Yeah,
BPM,
cool.
something like that."
Cool, dude.
Yeah, I don't know, I was intrigued by that. But I think it was a representation of this notion that, well, I mean, we're far enough into the genetics of the unfolding of music, much less getting into the intricacies of specific types of electronic music, that genres are a useful little foot in the door, but there's no fucking way. Like, the difference between, like, Oscar Allison, Grouch's, like, psychedelic techno, tech house, psytrance, like, you could characterize different albums by that artist completely differently, much less getting into the intricacies of how any of 100 of the artists on, like, any of Tim Sensient's Xenon releases are all psytrance, yes, but like for like Brega sounds like this and Vorg sounds like this, and like these guys are doing this sound, but it's like, well, yeah, it's all dark psytrance of some sort in some way, but it's
How
covers so
come
much
I don't
ground.
hear you mentioning the word prog in all this conversation?
Prog's bullshit.
Prog's bullshit. Yeah. Well, like all things, I mean, I'm stoked for an opportunity to come on a podcast called Prog is Bullshit, because I do have some thoughts on this. And
Well,
that is that,
let's
like
hear
all
'em.
genres,
Yes, Genesis. That's the prog I like. I love that shit.
Genesis is the artist name?
The band,
The
like
band,
bands.
yeah.
I'm talking about prog
band. The proper
before
prog.
any of this bullshit. So, yeah.
Prog is bullshit.
I fucking love prog. That sort of stuff.
like all styles of music, and prog is no exception. If we open up this can of worms,
Yeah.
it's going to mean different things to different people. So I listen to prog metal. I would consider like aspects of like Porcupine Tree to be prog. I would consider King Crimson to be prog. Tool, I think, could be considered prog. But then there would be people that would balk at the notion that metal is considered prog, because to them it means some particular granular aspect of some psychedelic electronic music that someone told them was prog, and they grabbed that and then like turned it into self, and now will defend it to the end of their lives. And it's like, I appreciate that, because we each have our own attachments in different contexts and different things, but there's no hill I'm going to die on defending the notion that tech house is 125 BPM sometimes. It's like the term we use has to be, first and foremost, in my humble opinion, the connective tissue we use to be able to relate to each other. And I love, for fun, getting into what prog is and isn't. But I mean, it's sorry to spoil the podcast, but ultimately it's a waste of time, because I'm far more interested in just connecting in what we like. And if it turns out that your idea of prog is what my idea of prog is, then let's get into it. And if not, let's take that word and drop it off the table and get into, like, we can be more specific. This label,
let's get
this
it.
artist.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Fucking this prog.
So for me
is so
personally-
fucking, everyone throws around the word prog.
I'll share what I think it
everything,
is.
mate.
Yep. I think prog to me means progressive, and I think progressive personally is some
Fucking
sort
great,
of.
mate.
That's a good
We're
start,
getting
because there will be
somewhere.
those that contest that, and that's okay. But that's their story, and they're not on this episode. So yeah, and to me, progressive, I think, speaks to something in the arrangement of a piece of music, and I think personally it speaks to something of the story of a piece of music.
Yeah.
And I think the way in which I first connected to the notion of prog, which was through prog metal, informs how I interpret the notion of prog in electronic music context. And that is to say this, that it is structurally unlikely to repeat the same motif or the same section again. And if it does so having learned from the space in between. It's on a journey and it's about the story that it's telling. And so for me, I'm far less likely to characterize prog as, it's this sort of psytrance that is characterized by this kick and this bass line. It's like, no, personally, that may be your experience of it, but for me, prog is a representation of the story that's being told and that it's metamorphosizing or that it's changing and that it's not A, B, A, B. We're not hearing the same outro that we're hearing in the intro. And I would even go so far as to say, bold though this may be, that we've touched on him earlier on in this podcast. Ryan wears music, psychedelic music that I think is great storytelling that subverts expectations and that goes somewhere that's different to where it came from. For me, would technically meet my personal definition of what I consider to be progressive, is that it is telling a story, and in the journey of that story, it's not treading the same ground.
I totally agree with that. It's certainly coming from a place and then hearing prog and then my mind sort of going like, oh, sick. So they have like this type of electronic music that's like prog. And that was my thought of like, it's slower and it's always like pushing you forward and it keeps progressing. And then like, I think for me, like the scene that I was sort of in when I first started going to parties, so maybe like a 10-year sort of period, prog sort of came in and got way too sort of big in a lot of the areas, and then you had camps sort of split, and then it seemed to be like the natural
Help yourself, bro.
Thank you.
reaction to that, like prog sort of got overdone and everyone was sort of getting sick of it, and then so like it kind of popped up, but at the same time there was an oversaturation of high tech as well, like like it was kind of like this.
What do you mean?
So
saturation of high tech and prog.
So like prog was just everywhere. Like, it was all, and of course like great artists have come up.
It was on the discount shelf in Woolworths. Came around
and like Xenon became Xenon. I think like I like in my personal opinion, I saw Xenon become Xenon that they are now. You know, they were just floating the word around Xenon-esque at the time, and it just had the, like, that's what everyone was into. And then the dark prog came, and a lot of it was great, but it was just oversaturated. And then kind of almost it seemed like a reaction to that was, on the other side, was just this, like, was high tech. Some of it which was fantastic, like Karish, beautiful. But there was way too much fast shit music. And then on the other side, there wasn't like, you know, Merkaba or any of these really great like progressive artists. There was slow shit. Right. So it was it kind of felt like it was just oversaturated, and prog was the word. You'd say like, oh, I like psytrance, and they're like, oh, I fucking hate psytrance. It's like, oh, what do you like? So, oh, I like prog, and it's like, oh, that's way different, eh? Like it was very, it became like a gross word, and so did high tech as well. So like if you say, oh, like, you know, dark side or faster stuff, no, oh, I hate that dark side bullshit or the high tech, and it's like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. So
is there can prog be used in relation to dark side? Is it
so? What Josh was saying before, like with Ryan, like Tchaikovsky, this dude from Russia. Like, have you ever checked him out?
Yeah, I heard a couple others playing.
So watch an 8-hour set of that guy. He's get back and say
like
that's not progressive. Like, so he is.
He's, I guess, in some ways, I would say the king of subverting expectations in the way that you didn't know you needed. Like, one of the greatest gifts you can give to someone, without diving too deep into the mysticism of it all, is giving them permission to stop analysing the music and just feel it and be with it. And like Tchaikovsky,
I don't think it doesn't look like it's been made on a grid. there's no...
Whatever digital audio workstation they're using subverts like all typical kind of...
And it's just purely like, it's... I could understand people listening to it and go like, this is fucking nonsense. And I'd be like, fair. Sure. But to me, like that's kind of my thought of prog in every sense of the word. It's like, it feels like it needs to be pushing forward, whether it's in the actual story that the music's telling, or in like the production, or even the ideas.
So are you saying Tchaikovsky is prog?
No, God, no. I get ripped apart for that.
There's an interesting balance. There's an interesting balance here in what you're exploring, which is the notion of like, well, that for me personally, that I assert that prog is about progressive music and subverting expectations and taking it to somewhere that it isn't. But I note with interest that you then pick an example of that, and someone says, "Well, is Tchaikovsky prog?" And it's like, well, that's gonna rub a lot of people the wrong way. Like, but I think it's okay to stand in that. You don't want to take someone to a
Tchaikovsky gig and say, "Come check out some prog," because
people are going to have an idea of what it should be, and just be like, "Yeah."
Prog is bullshit.
Yeah, it's entirely dependent on what any one person thinks prog to be, and I think that's why I think some humility in exploring this notion of like, well, what do you listen to? And someone says prog, it's like, I'm not going to pull the trigger yet on what I think about that, because I don't yet know well enough what you mean by it.
Yeah.
And I mean, now's as good a time as any to ask, like, what's prog, Misha?
What do you think it is?
Oh, what do I think it is? Well, I have always been very skeptical about this concept, prog. I think that all music progresses. In order to be music, it has to progress. It needs to. So, I guess some music can be a bit more repetitive.
You've not heard any DJ Dance Floor then?
I have not heard DJ Dance Floor, no.
Yeah, aside to behold. One of our like contemporary savants, I would say. But... the music is devoid of any progression
I think
by design.
That's why I called this podcast. And trust me, I have thought about it a lot before I named this podcast, and I just have come to the conclusion that I don't understand what it is, and that's basically the purpose of this podcast, is explore and try to understand what it is and hear other people's perspective on what prog is. So at this current moment, I think it's just a bullshit concept that been thrown around easily.
Misha, you've unwittingly consolidated the very essence of every interpersonal conflict that our species has ever had to endure. The reason for every war that we've ever seen, the reason that we've ever had to ban any given person from a community, is it all boils down to the difference, the subtleties in the difference in how we define things and how strongly we attach to them. And you're absolutely right that prog is bullshit, but I would go a little beyond that and say that any attachment to what something needs to be under the pretense of having a better idea of it than any one other person is bullshit, and I think that's why this prog is bullshit tattoo has prime of place. Right? No, I haven't.
Really?
Hook me up. Yes. Right. So.
Yeah, I think I love it just as much as anyone else. Getting in the weeds of like different genres and all that. Like, I really like that. But at the end of the day,
nothing gets me as high as a dysregulated nervous system.
Everyone loves a bit of prog.
But at the end of the day, like, it's so like self sort of masturbatory, and it is a waste of time. And I think, like, if you really think about like your favorite artists in any genre, like they, particularly for me, like they're ones that like I'll go, what does that person sound like? And you go, it sounds like them. There is nothing that sounds like them. It's like, oh, what about this person? It's like, you need to listen to it. And it's like, that's, well, what's Rhinoceros? It's like, he makes his own music. Like, it's different than anyone else. Or, Tchaikovsky, or, like tons of them. So I think people just kind of like, I don't know.
And then you got these complications to this question, like bush prog. I've heard main stage prog. I've heard cheesy prog, commercial prog, and then that's just in relation to psytrance.
That's right, and so you're not even talking about house. You're not talking about like
Have you listened to any minimal tech prog?
I don't know. Wouldn't that just stop? It just get.
That sounds pretty cool.
Minimal.
I'm going to need a minute in the studio. That sounds like we're going to get that idea down. That sounds great.
And I think it's just when I always loved hearing those words. Like the first time someone said like, "Oh, here's some minimal tech," I was like, "What is that?" And listening to it and going like, it kind of adds to the like, "What is this music?" And then you get home and you're sort of like, "Oh, it's just like techno kind of thing." Like it's very similar. And I remember hearing like about glitch the first time and going like, whoa, what is that? Like that sounds like some savage shit. I might not be old enough to listen to that. Like that sounds gnarly. So I think it's a I don't know. It's fun and doesn't really serve a purpose. It's just a nice thing to do to sort of talk about these things and sort of G yourself up. Because I imagine something way better than what's out there. Like when I heard glitch, I was like, oh, it sounds like a car crash with tentacles and shit. And then I heard it, and honestly, I went like, the fuck is this? There's like girls singing on it and stuff, and then later on, I found good stuff. I'm sure there's a 1% slither of every single type of music that someone showed it to you, you'd be like, oh, this is sick.
What's exquisite? Sorry to interject.
No,
but
we can interrupt in this podcast.
Excellent.
Feel free anytime.
You touch on the notion of like kind of hearing about a genre, and I've done the same thing at different times in my life where I've written it off under the pretense that I listened to a couple of hours of it and I'm like, it's garbage. It doesn't resonate with me. It's not tight enough. It's messy. It's this, that, and the other. But then I'll hear an example within that space that nails it so perfectly that it just I buy it immediately. I'm like, this is representative of what I personally feel is down-tempo glitch, or what I feel is like, Carmen-esque or something. Because like I've stepped away from genres and started to referring to music after certain artists that I feel like I can hear their energy being channeled through. But what I allow myself to kind of chuckle at sometimes is that objectively, or as close to as objective as possible, the distance between the stuff that I'm like, this is exemplary, and the distance between the stuff that I'm like, I absolutely can't listen to it, it's fucking garbage, is subjective and also really hard to quantify. Like when I hear a track in a style that I love, when I hear good high tech and I'm like, fucking strap it to my veins, this I could listen to for hours. Give me the Nang box, give me the I'm going to drop in, I'm going to skyrocket and experience the great remembering, the transcendental like kind of ego death that comes with the moment of music being so good when I'm so high on a dance floor. But then the next artist gets up and plays something that a bystander might look or listen at and be like, oh yeah, it's the same kind of music. I'd be like, this is not the same kind of music. This is a fucking waste of everyone's time. This is so prog right now. Bring back the prog. And you're like, but didn't you say it's prog? And I'm like, no, prog. Josh, you ate way too much of whatever was on that bit of paper earlier, brother. Just like, the gap is pretty small sometimes between, even as there's like in any given artist, that they might release an album that I'll just be like, this is so awesome, and the next record comes along and it's like, I've got to drop you. I just can't
Why did you
stand.
do that?
You had so much potential. Who the fuck am I, some rando, to come on and start like pissing contests around what does and doesn't constitute good music?
Well, it's just subjective. It's a matter of our preference.
And there's magic in that as well, because I mean that at the end of the day, we each know what it feels like to get out of our own way when we hear music that's so great that it's undeniably excellent, and that we can surrender to it and not have to analyze it or critique it or like kind of have furrowed brow and be like, what's going on? Just to be like, this is where I need to be right now. Cancel my 3 o'clock and give me that spoon kind of thing. And it's great that my version of that is someone else's version of a piss break or someone else's version of a time to go to bed. Like, I think that's exquisite because it's testament to just how uniquely individual we all are, and that that there is, to a certain degree, there's some space for being objective around what constitutes good and bad, but that ultimately it boils down to like what makes you feel the way you need to feel. Like, and I'm stoked for it. I love music arguably more than any other phenomenon in this great unfolding that this universe offers. It is fucking cool that shit vibrates and makes me feel the way it does.
Yeah,
like,
and I think for those particular tracks, and really at the end of the day, like, if you counted them all up, it's probably only a couple of CDs worth of songs that you can go like, I know, like, this is a absolute fucking banger. And I don't need to explain to anyone why it is. And I don't have to, go like, is it prog? Is it not prog?
Prog is
Yeah, I've got it.
and on that note, might I add, magic. What a treat it is. One of my favourite feelings in the world is what I was just describing about being on that dance floor and dropping in and being like, this is the motherfucking place to be. Of all the universe right now, this is where it's at. This is where I'm at, and this is where I need to be. And equal first with that is when you're there too, or you're there too, and we look at each other and we're just like fucking awesome. Words cannot describe.
Say anything.
That's right. That's right.
Just look.
Yes,
just
you
a
cannot
wink.
encapsulate. You're just like right where I need to be. At Art Valley, on the Sunday afternoon, there was a gentleman there that I'd never met in my life, and he had the best idea ever because he was standing in a particular spot, and I rocked up. We had our arms folded, and we just nodded and just went like, sweet spot. He's like, sweet spot. Like, we're here for this artist at this time to play this music, and this is the motherfucking place to be because this is the sweet spot on one of my favourite rigs going. Tom's Meta Sound rig, the two Toms, like that. So I'm surprised that some people are a bit here or there.
I've been hearing quite a few criticism about that sound
It's
system.
incredible. Yeah, I'd love to know. I'd love to hear more because for my 2 cents, I first heard it at the Drift Lab at Rabbits in 2021, and it grabbed me and drew me in. I was like, this is one of the best bang for buck. Meta Sounds. It's a rig characterized by these 2 massive speakers that's sometimes on tripods, and then I think a row of subs in the middle. And
orange color, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it sounds fantastic, and I've seen Tom cruising around the crowd with the iPad tuning it, and whatever his process is, for my 2 cents, it ticks all the boxes. I think it's absolutely wicked, and I'm psyched to play on it with you at the end of the year.
Yeah, man.
In just over a month.
Yeah, talking about Art Valley, I just want to mention that place and that collective holds a very special place in my heart now, because the first Art Valley event, it was called Sungate.
Yep.
Oh, I was at that too.
You were?
Wow.
Yeah, like 2020.
2021.
2021, yeah.
Yep.
No, that was the first one I came back to.
Right.
Unreal.
Right. That was...
Get me hands back in. Yeah.
It was wet.
I walked about.
No, the weather wasn't wet. The
ground was wet. I remember,
wet.
trekking in about
an
hour to go in and go like, I'm
Nevertheless,
back, baby.
Nevertheless, for me, that was one of sort of key events where I made a lot of connections and kind of personal, how do you call it, sort of decisions where I need to go and...
It was formative in your unfolding when you were like, okay, this is where I need to be.
And that's not even considering the great sort of music that was there and everyone, the great artists and all the other difficulties that were involved. I still, I thought, yeah, that's the place. I'd want to be back to that place.
Yeah.
And I went back to Art Valley, and now I'm so happy to be actually playing there for the first time, and I hope to be coming to every Art Valley event in the future and supporting those guys and being supported, and I hope to be playing at all the future events as well, and doing media, of course.
Yep. My I had the such a special time at Art Valley. With a crew running a chill space there, and just the amount of time and energy everyone to put into it, and how hard the promoters worked, and the efforts that everyone went to cultivate safe, caring, connected spaces.
Yeah. It was cancelled twice, right? Postponed twice.
I was a late involvement. That weekend opened up, and a friend invited me to collaborate to be able to hold space. There's so many things I love about it. Something I'd love to mention is a doof site would kill for the privilege of having somewhere like a scenic vista that you can interact with, like a river or like a rocky outcropping on a mountain. And Art Valley site has both within 250 metres of each other in a straight line through the entire space. So the stage at Art Valley was on the edge of the precipice of the rocks. Absolutely beautiful vista. The way the light shone through is exquisite. It held space so beautifully. And you could walk down and hang out at the river. And every space in between was magic. It had this beautiful chill space with fires that we tended the entire weekend. Polos ran this absolutely awesome kitchen, and the piece de resistance of that entire festival was that Tom and the Meta Sounds guys were running the rig on the hill. It sounded amazing, had an absolutely phenomenal lineup, and then there were open decks in the chill space that ran all day, every day. And the amount of phenomenal DJs that come out of the woodwork, like teenagers and like young guns that just have a USB and just like with a lot of humility and graciousness just pop up and be like, oh, can I play for a bit? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, you can. And they get up and they fucking send it. Like, there's a gentleman, I'd love to remember his name. He commented on one of your videos on YouTube, and we'll track him down. But one afternoon, I was so absolutely knackered. And a dear friend Jade and I were the only two people left up who were running the chill space at the event. Everyone else had been working their absolute asses off and needed some respite and went to bed. And her and I ended up running the chill space single-handedly. Between the two of us, we were tending to fires. She was filling up the miso. We were doing some care for like community members because we were an ad hoc harm reduction crew, and at the same time running the decks. And this weapon of a DJ came up at some point. I was playing some tech house and just like kind of jumping between the decks and then going out and throwing firewood on the fire and making sure everyone was comfy. We ended up playing, I was so ready for bed, we ended up playing from 8 through to about 4:30 in the morning, and we journeyed from 124 BPM minimal tech house, the entire gamut, all the way up to about 210 or 220 BPM proper, like balls to the wall. I don't even know if it would constitute high tech, like it was just some really interesting dark stuff. And at about 3 in the morning, I had to just like, I was looking at my USB and I was like, you're entering territory that I don't even cover. And I pride myself on my capacity to be able to follow any DJ down the rabbit hole in a dogfight of music throwdown. And it's like, mate, this is yours. Like, keep on rolling, because if I want to jump in here, I'm going to have to go back to 100 BPM stuff and like split you down the middle with a bunch of down tempo. And this this crowd doesn't.
The last night.
It was the last night.
I was there. I remember how you were playing, and then he, the guy, right? He jumped on after you, and that's where he lost me, and I'm like, I gotta go to sleep. It's time to go to sleep. I wished that there was something slower playing at that space, and I would have sticked around, but it just got too hectic. Yeah.
Yep. It was intense, but also there was something really charming about that he had it, and that he was willing to bring it, and that he was consistent and holding it down. And there were few enough people there that I don't think there was a need to collectively shape that experience, especially because it was on a trajectory that was set into motion some 8 hours previously when we decided to start playing some tech house. And he held it down the whole way. We were going 2 for 2, and it was super fun, because at about 9 or 10 at night it was starting to get pretty chill, and I was starting to think to myself, look, are we going to wind this down, or what are we going to do? And then there was an influx, because it turns out that they decided to I think the King Brothers and a couple of other awesome DJs were doing a bit of the same sort of business where they were just like kind of doing back to back up on the main stage.
That's where I was. I was there dancing for their set.
And then decided to all come down, and it just felt like kick-ons. Like it was like this house party kind of at the chill tent. And like the amount of times with different mates or people that I meet where we're in one of either the Soul Shack or Love Lucian space or some other kind of chill space with open decks and or jam space that has food or has like soup going. And the question comes to everyone's mind is like, how the fuck did we ever do this without a chill space?
Yeah, man.
Like
it's
it is
so good.
Such an integral part of the doofing experience to have somewhere to go and not only to get warm or to get food or to get nourished, not only to drop in and have great chats or like smoke that Chenga joint or to like take a breather, but also I think something that I really value and others that I know really value is that for those of us that are purveyors of psychonaut journeys through, diving deep into altered states and maybe losing a bit of a felt sense of self, a space like that is absolutely crucial to the journey of rediscovery of self. Like if I'm so off my face that I've forgotten who I am and what I'm doing and where I'm going, and I'm on a main stage dance floor that is such an intense, cataclysm of sound and confusion and noise, no matter how great the music is, if I've lost my sense of self and the only other place I have to go is my tent and it's -4 degrees in July in the middle of nowhere, and I then have to wrestle with all the weird sounds that are coming through and the dog that's pissing on my tent that feels like a demon, or the like kind of the voices of friends which are laughing, but to me it's that they're laughing at me or something. To have somewhere where I can rock up and someone like Jade can just smile and hand me a cup of tea and gesture to a corner of the room where a couple of people are just chilling and smoking a joint, and that there's a DJ there, maybe not playing high tech, but like maybe, playing some funk music or something accessible, just to be able to have permission to remember what it is to be a human being again is so...
It's funny how you put it.
It's more important than anyone could ever know than the person who's having that experience at that time, because I think there's extraordinary value to experiencing ego death, to letting go of self. I think that some of the greatest lessons I've learned about myself have been through these really intense psychedelic experiences. But it is discombobulating, and the thought of spending any longer than I need to in that state of disarray and not knowing who I am, I don't know. I can't speak for you guys, but it's not fun. I didn't like when I was younger and I was off my face and I was back in my tent and having to wrestle with who am I again? And to have somewhere that gives me permission to rediscover that without judgment, without preconceived notions of what I have to be or what I have to be doing, and can throw a bit of warmth and some fun in to boot. So much love for anyone that's cultivating those spaces in safe, caring, connected ways and operating from a place of integrity and authenticity. Like those people that I'm alluding to right now know who they are, and they know that they're doing the right thing, and I'm excited that they're doing it, and I want them to keep doing it.
PROG is bullshit.
Guys, we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon.
You fucking what? We've still got this entire bottle of our lovely Poncho Fox to get through, and I can't wait to meet her. By the way, wow,
That's great.
yeah,
Just down the road, and
she can run a chill space at a doof any day.
Well,
of
10
the
minutes
week.
from here. A
10
suburb
minutes
called
from
Melba. Yeah, just here.
Wow.
Dolconnen.
Unreal.
Yeah. So on that note, thank you very much again to...
Do you have 2 minutes to run us through your vision for the next little while? What are you working on music-wise? What gig are you excited about next?
Oh, the Kibbutz Art Valley one. That's the most exciting one for me. It's going to be either the wrap-up of this year or beginning of the next year, depending on what day I'm playing at that event, because it's a New Year's Eve event. But I'm very thankful to be part of it and to spend my New Year's at Art Valley. And as far as this year is concerned, this is the first year that I actually started playing on lineups, that I've ever appeared on lineups officially.
Yep.
And
Congrats, by the way, for
think
all
it
the
has
fucking
been
hard
a
work you've
very
been doing.
productive year. I couldn't be happier with the amount of times gigs that I've had this year. So I'm just, but I'm having sort of different plans for future. I want to sort of, I want to get into production. And that's a whole of a long new journey diving deep in. So there are going to be probably fewer videos. What I'm trying to do now is to use the content that I have, make as many as I can this year and put them onto the schedule for releases, and focus more on music production next year.
Yep.
And DJing, of course. So fewer videos. I mean, videos they were kind of an entry, and I'll keep doing interviews and everything that, and videos just going to be fewer of them, and more interesting and more high quality, I hope.
Awesome.
So that's my plan.
I don't know if those that watch the videos, unless they have a bit of a background in audio or video production, realise how many hours of work you pour into that, on top of juggling a full-time work. I've said it before in another interview we've had, and I'll say it again. You're one of the hardest working guys in the biz I know, and I'm stoked to see it paying off for you, because I really appreciate your authentic contributions to this, the most exciting thing that I have been involved with in my life, the music scene.
It's very inspirational and fucking annoying at the same time, because it's kind of like, it's like, oh, he's just doing it. And it's like, that's literally what holds everybody back. It's like, just fucking do it. And so it's very inspirational to see how, you just do it and they'll come. So
Thank you.
It's great, man.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you for joining me today.
What a treat. I'm stoked to be in the neighbourhood even for just a couple of hours.
Yeah,
it's
thanks
really
for
special.
inviting me.
Fucking stoked to see you. I love this human being, and an absolute treat to get to hang out. We've had some, I can't wait to chat more about some of the adventures. This guy is magnanimously enigmatic and is one of the most extraordinary human beings I know, who has so many awesome stories to tell, but has the humility to rarely tell them, so his mates have to tell them for him.
The thing is that you just mentioned about Joe, how cool it is to be with him, and this is due to this podcast. If it wasn't here, I
wouldn't have bothered catching up with him.
Yeah.
It's because we needed him.
Well, that's what I said to the wife and kids. They were there at the door going, look, why are you going? I'm like, this is the only opportunity I get to hang out with Josh. It's both their birthdays. We'll put them together.
PROG is bullshit.
The biggest thing for me is like, I really 100% don't feel that there's any ulterior motive behind what you're doing either. When I hear you talk and the passion that you talk about, it's like, oh, this guy is not putting this on. He's doing it literally just for the reason because he wants to fucking do it, which is great. Like, which is what you need to see. Like someone who can't, and I was sort of the same. Like, I can't make that music and I can't do that. Like, at the end of the day, man, if I could just fucking shred guitar solos, I'd be happy. Like, I'd be done with all this VJing bullshit, all this. But it's like, it's like, yeah, you find a way to fucking get in there and you keep pushing, and it's not until you sort of present it that people go like, oh, I didn't really know that we really needed something like this, you know, like, and yeah, and then there's other things that have popped up recently that I'm sort of like, oh, that's interesting that some other things have popped up podcast wise in this scene as well. So hats off to you, man. Like,
thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very
great.
much for supporting and for coming on as a guest. Lovely having you.
And even
Thanks
after
for
that,
looking
we still don't get
I have a
paid
little
after
bit.
that.
That's right. Checks in the mail.
Oh,
Beautiful.
You touch on this notion of really enjoying bringing people together and the connective tissue. I look forward to. Is it true that there might be another podcast in the works looking at the dark side of the music industry.
Yes.
I look forward to coming onto that sometime, and we'll talk about all the people that we have to tear down a notch as well. That'd be awesome.
Let's do it. Yeah, it's not going to be putting our
Not
reputations on the line, but...
No, I will. Yeah, I'm happy
We're
to
coming
be
after you,
demasked.
Oliver.
Yeah.
Oliver Lavender.
You won't recognize
it's
it.
your reckoning is at hand.
Cheers, guys. Thank you once
Cheers.
again.
Love your work.
All the best. And thank you, everybody who's listening and watching this. I mean, without
I hear
you,
this
you know,
episode on the live stream had a record number of listeners.
64.
Is that right? It's
Yes,
just come
3.
through.
I think 3.
3.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
My mum, your mum.
1, 2, 3. No, here we are. Thank you, everyone. All the
Thank
best.
you.
PROG is bullshit.